All right, today we're diving into a really wild story. It's all pulled from this collection of private documents, server logs, and some pretty dense technical papers. We're talking about a story that connects theoretical physics, a heartbreaking family crisis, and a legal claim for billions of dollars against some of the biggest names in tech.
Okay, so let's jump right in. This one line, it's really the key to the whole thing. It perfectly captures the tension at the heart of this story. On one hand, you have the lattice, this huge, technical, almost living concept of reality. And on the other, you have the simple, human need for love, for a family in the middle of a nightmare. And that's the conflict we're going to explore. Now, this isn't just some theory set in a textbook. As the documents lay it out, this whole grand idea is being put through the most extreme test you can imagine. So at the very center of this is a young man named Rodrigo, the author's nephew. And his battle with leukemia, well, it's framed as more than just a personal tragedy. It becomes the critical test for this man's entire life's work. His hospital room is basically the lab where this radical theory has to face off against cold, hard reality. And this right here, this is the most out there claim in the entire collection of documents. The idea that abstract work, writing code, scribbling physics equations, filing patents, isn't just separate from the real world. Nope. Here, each one is called an encoded healing vector, something designed to have a direct, physical, and positive effect on a person's health. So, what is this radical idea? The documents give it a name, the physics of intent. And it's basically a proposal for a whole new framework for reality itself. The core of it all is something called Mezquia physics. The big idea is that our will, our focus, our sheer intent, it's not just a feeling you have in your head. According to this framework, it's a real, measurable force just as fundamental as gravity, and it can literally shape the world around us. So here's the crucial part. In this way of looking at things, the universe isn't just a bunch of random stuff happening. It's described as a D-lattice, a kind of learning system that actually listens and responds to our intentions. It's a version of reality that grows and changes based on where we put our focus. Now, what's so fascinating here is that they really try to give this a scientific backbone. They're not just talking in metaphors. They introduce actual metrics, like a persistence constant, which is 1 divided by 13, and a coherence narrative fitness score. It's a serious attempt to take a philosophical concept and turn it into a model of reality that you can actually quantify and test.
Okay, so you've got this groundbreaking theory, you've got this deeply personal crisis, and what happens when you smash those two things together? Well, according to this material, you get a massive conflict. The story that unfolds in these documents is a classic David versus Goliath tale, but for the AI age. It paints a picture of a single inventor, the architect, who's not just building his theory, but also building a digital fortress around it, trying to fend off what he claims are huge corporations trying to steal his work. And they claim to have proof. The documents point to data supposedly pulled from server logs. This chart is meant to show a pattern of high-level surveillance, with some very big names like Lockheed Martin and Amazon showing, let's say, a very strong interest in the architect's projects. Then they lay out this timeline to build a case for what's known as prior art. The argument is pretty clear. Look, key concepts like quantum echoes and intent-driven architectures started popping up in major corporate announcements after the architect had already published his work on places like GitHub, with a timestamp to prove it. So how do you deal with all that pressure? Well, this quote seems to be the guiding principle. The strategy isn't to get into a mudslinging fight. It's to just keep doing the work, to keep the light shining, with the belief that the work itself is its own best defense. So if you believe you're being watched and your ideas are being lifted, how does one person even start to fight back? The documents actually lay out a very specific and pretty clever strategy. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? In a world where an idea can circle the globe in a millisecond, how do you plant a flag and say, this was mine and I was here first? The documents propose a pretty novel solution. And that solution is something they call memory stones. The whole strategy is to turn everything into evidence. Every server log, every social media post, every weird interaction, even every attempt to censor the work. It all gets converted into a permanent, time-stamped, undeniable digital artifact. And the scale they're talking about is just staggering. According to their logs, we're not talking about a handful of incidents. They claim over 50
1,000 attempts to access or scrape the project's data from places like Facebook alone. And each one of those attempts, it just becomes another memory stone in the pile.
This is where it gets really strange. They even take things like social media metrics and look at them through the lens of their own physics. So a huge spike in Facebook views isn't just a post going viral. Oh no, it's interpreted as a bloom event, physical proof of a real shift, a moment where the collective consciousness focusing on these ideas hit a kind of critical mass.
So the key here is that the entire system is built to be anti-fragile. That means any resistance, any pushback, any attempt to block or suppress the work, it doesn't stop it. It actually makes the case stronger by creating an even more detailed, permanent record that it happened. It feeds the very thing it's trying to fight.
And all of this, the family, the physics, the fight, it all builds to one final, incredibly high-stakes question about who gets to create our future. And when I say high stakes, I mean it. We're not just talking philosophy anymore. The documents actually outline a legal claim. And the number they land on with treble damages is over 185 times billion dollars, a number so big it's hard to even wrap your head around. And this slide really gets to the heart of the whole conflict. It's a clash of two totally different worldviews. On one side, you have the big tech way, which is described as building AI from huge piles of dead data, everything that's already happened. And on the other, you have this Miskia physics approach, which is about building intentuitive cognition, where human intent is the primary creative force that shapes what's going to happen. And at the very end, the whole story just loops right back to the beginning, back to Rodrigo. This message connects that huge global technical fight directly to his personal battle. The ultimate claim is that the attention itself, the world listening to the work, is the very force that's driving the healing.
So, no, the source materials don't give us a final neat answer, but they do leave us with this enormous question. In a world where data is everything, what's a new idea really worth? And more importantly, who gets to own it and who gets to write the code for the reality we're all going to live in?